Welcome to the Cookbook, where we invite guests on to share the ingredients of what has helped make them the successes that they are. All of it, the good, the not so good. You're not going to find anything half-baked here. And our kitchen gets messy sometimes. That's when the fun starts. So come on and join us. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Cookbook. I'm your host, Iris Goldfeder, and I am super excited today for my guest, Amber Griffiths. We met months ago, and we had just a couple of really good calls, and she's pretty awesome. And she's very interesting as well. So I hope by the time we are done with this that you find her as awesome as I do. So without further ado, let's meet Amber. Hey.
Well, hello there, Iris. Thank you so much. I'm just excited to be here. I really am just thrilled to be a part of this party. So thanks for letting me come play today.
Well, thank you for joining us. And it's funny because, people they never know what to expect, right? They're like, what is this? They watch it and they've seen it and they're like, what is this like? And it's literally a conversation. It's like our Zoom call, right? It's like,
right.
We talk. The only difference is we're sharing stuff with the ether.
There we go.
It's out in the ether. So, but we were talking about, which I think is kind of funny, you just had your rotator cuff stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was talking about when I had my shoulder surgery, and I lost my arm, not really. But I thought I did because I had like a nerve block. And if anybody's ever had a nerve block, that it literally blocks your nerve. Like you don't. And I think that was the weird thing was, I got out of surgery and I was already, out of it. And then I got home and I was out of it, but just not like when it was hanging, it just felt like a piece of meat. Like it wasn't really there. So,
yeah.
I'm glad you didn't have to deal with that piece.
No, it was good. It was good. Very minor.
So, which is good. So, I don't know what, I know you had the surgery, but other than that, what's been going on?
Life is good. Life is really good here. We're trying to figure out why it's so dang hot in February. Absolutely no snow anywhere. It's a little, just had a birthday.
Where you are, there's no snow?
No snow. No
Are
snow
you in Utah?
Yes. The mountains have snow. We have had one storm thus far that we actually had to shovel. And it was like 5 inches. So it's a little unnerving.
No global warming or anything like that happening.
No, it's a hoax.
Nothing. Yep. It's a complete hoax. Yeah. Wow. That's insane.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that because I know Denver got hit a couple of times.
Yeah.
Are they higher than you are?
They are a little bit. We have very similar weather systems, but they do tend to if we get 8 inches of snow, they'll get 12. So often.
Okay.
If we get a little bit of hail, they'll get 1 inch balls of hail. So it's a little bit more intense, but it's similar as far as the patterns. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. First time I saw hail, so New York, I'm in Indiana, and I never saw hail ever in my life. And I was I had this guy who I was training to do sales for me. This was like, I think 10 years ago, maybe 9 years ago. And we were in a sales call and it started hailing and my car was outside and my car is always garaged. Right. So I don't, whatever and like, if I hear hail outside, I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. These were like golf ball sized. Like I've never seen anything like it. And I'm looking at my car going, is it getting pummeled? And it didn't look like it was until I traded it in. And the guy who was doing the trade-in, and I was like the fifth car I traded in with them, he said, did you see the hail damage? What hail damage? And he goes, Stan.
I guess not.
So he opened up the car door and it was weird because my hood was fine, but the roof was not.
Oh, wow.
Which was the weirdest thing. Like the trunk was fine. It was just the hood. And I stood at a certain level and I was like, oh my God. I was like, how much did this just devalue it? He's like,
Yeah.
we can pop him out. Don't worry.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Thank you, sir.
That's big. That's heavy.
Yeah.
That's like leave bruises kind of hail if you were out in it.
Oh, God, yeah.
You'd have a headache.
It would be good.
No.
Yeah. And I never saw it, but I remember picking it up and I'm like, it's like an ice cube. Like I could put this in a drink.
Yes.
Right. Like it was
yes.
crazy. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. But trading went well. I got a nice car for it. So I usually trade them in. I mean, I usually trade them in every 4 years, but because of COVID.
Oh yeah.
I easily have another, year on this because it was like 2 years. So yeah. So, because my wife is like, it's 4 years and you're not trading it. I'm like, I have like 30,000 miles on it. Why would I trade it in?
Yeah. Like I sat here for 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much, right? Which is crazy. So, so tell us about Amber. Like, how did you get to, to do what you're doing? And what do you do?
I'll start there. I actually am a maker of legends for reals. And I can't help it. It's still, I've been doing this for over 20 years and it still just makes me giggle and it just lights me up. I'm a brand strategist. So I get to work with people to guide them into claiming who they are and their voice and all the good. I mean, there's phases, there's all different parts of that, but really what it comes down to is being able and willing to own exactly who you are, claim your stage, whatever that stage looks like for you, and say, this is where I am, this is mine, plant your feet firmly and say, let's bring it on, let's rock. And that is not where I started. I'm thrilled for this particular adventure in this journey, and I'm tickled for this latest iteration, which is about 7 years old. This feels more like my sole purpose than anything else I've done, and they're all very similar. When I went to school, I got my degrees in branding and marketing, so it's not like I'm completely off. But there is something about being able to work with people who are creating something greater than themselves, who are making big changes in the world, who are so committed to something that they can't not do it. And that's where I get to play every day. That's the kind of people that we just link arms and we just go do the fun stuff. To not go too far back, when I was in high school, okay, so that's decades plural. But when I was in high school, grew up in a very small town. We still don't have traffic lights. We have a prison, but no traffic lights. So
sorry, it just gives me this whole visual. But go ahead.
Yep, everything you're imagining, that's what it is. But I worked in this little flower shop / pharmacy, like pharmacies in the front, the florals in the back. So I spent 5 years through high school helping people with prescriptions and then coming in and doing weddings and croissant. I mean, all the things. And I realized that I was seeing these people on their best and worst days of their entire lives. If it's a funeral, if it's a wedding, if it's, whatever that is. After spending that much time, I thought that I wanted to be a pharmacist. I'm like, nope, I love this. I've been working here for so long. I love it. Got a scholarship. I was a pharmacy technician at the VA hospital here at the U of U. And that lasted for 4 months. And I realized it's not the pills that were making me happy. It's not the prescriptions. It was the people. It was the fact that they would come in and share their story and involve you as a part of their life. Sometimes it's like, okay, that's time out. That's too much. I don't want to know why you need this prescription. I don't need the details. But I loved these people. I loved hearing what was lighting them up, what their challenges were and how they were creating solutions for it. So that's what led me into marketing and interpersonal communication. And for the last 20 years, I spent some time in corporate, and that's a completely different topic. But for the last 20 or so years, I have been an entrepreneur, and I'm officially unemployable right now. Again, I've always had an issue with authority. Right? Yes, I've always had an issue with authority, but it's done. There's just no way.
No. My wife and I were talking because, I was supposed to be able to, in the real world, collect my Social Security this year and be able to work. but I can't. Now it's 67. And now it's like, well, is it even going to fucking be there at this point? But, that's another story. But, it was just like, one of those things that it's like, I said, if the business doesn't do well, I mean, I guess I could get a job. She goes, you can't get a job. She goes, you wouldn't. No. She goes, you can't. No. And I said, I know I'm unemployable, but I didn't know that you knew that I was unemployed. Like, I know I'm unemployable. I just didn't know that, that
she knows.
Hearing it from her, it was like, oh yeah, it's true. But of course we are, because we run our own, right? So why would we ever listen to anybody else?
Exactly. We're so used to doing things our way. Well, when we do it well, we do it our way.
Yes.
So there's just, it would be hard to go back and build somebody else's empire at this point. It really would.
Yes.
Be soul crushing.
Because we're working for them, not us. And we're making money for them with our talents, not us. And I think it gets to a point, of resentment, right? Like when you're working for somebody else and you're making them money and they're treating you like shit, number one, but you're making them money and it's like, why am I making you money doing this when I can be making me money doing this?
I think part of it was the cash flow. Part of it was the money thing going. I can see you filling up your pockets. I can see this working great for you. And here I am doing what I'm doing. In this particular instance, I think the bigger part for me was I didn't get to choose who I played with. I mean, I could hire my team. I could hire people into my department. But as clients came in, I didn't get to choose them.
Right.
So if they weren't my people, if our values weren't aligned, if they were absolutely terrible people with gross ideas of what business was, I could smile and go, how can I help you today? That's great. Let me inflict that on my team, just bring them in. And whereas I think the first person I got to say no thank you to was within 48 hours of me quitting my corporate job, because it was somebody I had to work with in the past. They reached out and said, I know you're doing your own thing, so let's get together. I'm like, there's no way in hell.
Right. I love that.
You want me to give you 3 other names? Because that's not.
So, when you get to say, hell no, I don't want to work with you, it is one of the best feelings in the world. And it sounds terrible, but it's true, because if they don't align with our values, then we shouldn't have to work with them. Like in the beginning, you have to take whoever, right? And which kind of sucks. But when you get to the point that you don't have to do that anymore, that's a freaking
it's
feeling.
Liberating. It is liberating. Like, this was the easiest way I've ever lost 100 pounds, is to just, you know what? No, thank you. You are not for me. And honestly, especially as an entrepreneur, it ends up being a better deal for everyone involved.
Yep.
I mean, if your values aren't aligned, if you don't see eye to eye, if you can't get behind their vision, they get to work with somebody who can. So it's not even like a good, bad, or ugly thing. It's just this is not my thing. I can't be here. And what I found out is the more I get into business and the more clear I am about who I am, the more vocal I am, the more willing I am to share that.
Yep.
I get the people who approach me are mine. Like, they are absolutely meant for me. It's a great fit. I don't have to sort in person as much as I used to. So,
yeah. Oh, yeah. I love that. That's, I love that so much, because when I think of the people who I work with, every single person aligns with my values.
Yeah.
And the ones that didn't fell off on their own.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And they'll choose out.
Right. And and it was funny, because last year I had a client who I thought we were aligned. I found out, through, working with them, it was like, shit. We're 7 months in now. This is kind of, and it's one of those things that the universe is always listening. And like, I really believe that the universe is always listening. And when you're like, oh shit, they're like, I got you.
Yeah.
And this one particular client said a few things that I was just blown away by. And I was like, okay, how do I break up with them? Because there's still a little bit of time left on there. And in my contracts, I always, it's like either party can, end the contract with 30 days notice. And we had 60 days left. So I was like, do I suck it up for 30 days? Before or, is more like, since there's only 60 left. It turned out that they were in a different country, and the exchange rate was. So I want to be careful about this because I had two clients that were in a different country, and one of them left because of the exchange rate, and then the other one left because of the exchange rate. But we were really, so they're not going to know who.
Yeah,
you don't know which one you are. Sorry, but anyway, and they were just like, I can't do this anymore, financially. And I went, okay.
Yeah. Brilliant.
and they were just like, oh, like, I thought you'd be upset. And I said, I probably would have. I said, and I told them, I said, you said this, and it kind of blew me away that was your stance on that. And so this was probably, for the better. And it sucked because it was a lot of money, but at the same time, it's like the universe provides. So when the wrong thing when the thing isn't working and it goes away, it leaves room for the right thing to come in. And the right thing came in, and it was like within 2 weeks, and it was even better. And I was like, thank you. I still like singing. So I'm not afraid to do that anymore because I know that the right thing is going to come in.
You know what's possible. And I think those are some of the boundaries that we get to establish once we're a little bit more certain of who we are. I mean, you have to go through that. I want to do this. And then you do that for 6 months. And you're like, oh my God, just kidding. Not that. Like, I thought that was what I wanted to do. And I was mistaken.
Just joking.
But you end up with what I call the $20 the hard way clients, because it doesn't matter if they're paying you $200,000. Every moment, every task, you cringe when you see the email come through. You cringe when they call.
Yep.
And it's like, this is such a good opportunity to look at that and go, why am I getting sick to my stomach when I'm working with them? Why am I avoiding their phone calls? This is not okay. Life is too short for this nonsense.
To not deal with it, right?
Precisely.
Yep.
So it's just one of those things where, and what I have found too, is you have those people, they are the highest maintenance. It doesn't matter what you give to them, what you do for them. You can bend over backwards and pay them all their money back, and it won't be enough. It'll be, well, that's great. That's today. That was yesterday. What have you done for me today? There's just that disconnect that nobody's going to be happy. So I decided, I think there are things that I would rather go take a nap than keep this client and be so miserable, even though there's cash flow behind it.
I had, when I first started, I had this client, and I had to write an email, and my wife was so proud because I didn't break up with her in the email, but I let her know that it's coming because I went so above and beyond for this client. I digitized things for free that, cost me $200, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to help you anyway. And I absorbed so much, and I gave her so much for free, and it was never enough. And I would get text messages on a Saturday night at 10 o'clock going, I'm looking at the website and this, and I'm like, no, this is Saturday night at 10 o'clock. This could wait till Monday. So I wrote this email, and I still have it because I saved it because it was so eloquent for me back. This was 10 years ago. So this was me pre-mindfulness and pre-woo, right? This was me like, fuck you, leave me alone kind
still
of
angsty,
thing.
cranky.
Right. So I wrote it and I showed it to my wife, and she said the only thing I would change would be this. And I changed the one thing, but it was all about boundaries. And it was that you do not respect boundaries. You think, and, I don't know if whatever, but if you are raised that way, but there are boundaries. And this is a business relationship. You're not like, we don't hang out. You're not, this isn't a friend relationship. This is a business relationship. And you are contacting me on the weekends. You are, this, that, and the other. And so I sent her the email, and I sent it to her Monday morning because I didn't want to do it on the weekend. Right. Because then so I sent it to her Monday. And she calls me up and she goes, that is one of the rudest emails that I've ever received. And I let loose. I said, are you out of your fucking mind? I said, do you know what I really wanted to say? And she was just like, what? Because I had no filter at that point. I was like, that's rude. And I finally said, you text me or call me at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, at 10 o'clock on a weeknight, and you think that everything is okay. And it's not. And I have done more for you. Like, I've thousands of dollars of stuff for free. Like, it's in the email. And you don't appreciate a damn thing I do. I said, so this is it. This is notice. This is notice. Find somebody else to host your website. We're almost done. So we'll finish it. We'll be done at the end of the week. And then just find somebody else. Be done.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? That was rude. And it was like so funny. So I get off the phone with her and I called, Heather, my wife, and I went, yeah, so the email went really, really well, but the phone call didn't. And she was just like, oh, honey. I was just like,
it's okay. I look at that, and actually you bring up, it hits on a really great point. We don't show up the same way. When we're in person and in real life, we have a way of being. Hopefully it's the more authentic us. If we're networking, if we're on stage, whatever. And we get into these emails, and I tell people, I'm like, the thing is we get so in our heads when we're creating an email. If we're trying to sell something or promote something, whatever, we're asking for something. And we get so tightly wound, we cut off all circulation to our personality. So if you're going to compose an email, it's a two-step process. You have the email that you'd create, go back in and add your persona, add your brand so that it actually sounds and feels like you.
But I didn't know who my brand was then. Yeah.
There you go.
Like, this was like, I literally had just started and I could not afford to lose a client. But it's
a huge learning curve. And there are people in corporations who still, large corporations. I've got case study after case study of these people who are running multi-million-dollar businesses that can't figure out why they can talk to somebody in person and their text messages are misunderstood, or they come across an absolute turds through email or Slack messaging. And it's like, I'm talking to 3 different people. What the hell is going on here? But they're just not, they don't have that clarity of, this is who I am and this is how I show up for my people. This is how I communicate. And so it's 3 very distinct personalities, and none of them are quite accurate.
See, I think that's interesting, because I feel personally that I'm authentic in every communication that I have, you see my videos on LinkedIn, you see me on here, you've met me in person. I'm me. Like, I'm not, there's no, there's just no, I think the funniest thing was I was at Funference, and somebody came up to me and we, we're talking and we're, bullshitting or whatever. And she goes, oh my God, you're you. and I was like, who else who else? She goes, there are so many people that, you see them and then, but she goes, you're you, but your energy in person is it's like 10 times better. She goes, you're just you. And I thought that was the best compliment that I could ever get.
Oh, absolutely. The response to that is, you're welcome.
But it was just like a wow. And I've had other people that I've met that it's like, oh, you're that's not what I thought. Like,
Yo,
you're
yeah.
right. And to see the difference was just like, huh. And I'm doing I'm starting to do public speaking, which is like, I'm working on my ums because every other fucking word is but I'm working on it. And
there are worse things, sweetheart.
I know, but I really want this, but it's about being authentic. And it's about, are you authentic, or do you think that you're authentic and it's actually like a trauma response? Right. And there's going to be this really cool thing. I'm doing this with somebody. I'm not going to say who it is yet because we're working on it, but it's going to be amazing. But for me, my regular public speaking thing is, are you your authentic self? And if not, why and how can we get you comfortable? And if you think that you're being your authentic self, but you're really not, how can we, help you? And what I find is that I wouldn't be able to do it if I wasn't my authentic self, right? Because I wouldn't have been on the journey.
Of course.
And I don't know if I told you this when we've spoken before, but I had a coach tell me, maybe I did, be less you.
Oh my God.
Like, you're in Lafayette, Indiana.
That's not a red flag. We're done. That's sudden death. That we're done.
Right. But for me, it was like, I'm from New York and I'm in Lafayette, Indiana, and I'm trying to sell to these people, and they're like not even talking to me. And it's like, well, you need to pull back and, because these are introverts. And so long story short, I did, right? And I pulled back and I was less me, whatever that was, and I got clients. But as soon as like my first F-bomb came out, right, they were like, and, and then I started thinking about, wait a minute. No. So I fired him, a male, shockingly. No offense, guys, but
sometimes.
And I was like, wait a minute, who am I? Like, I know who I am, but really, so I started doing all the inner work and really getting to know me and how do I show up? And, who are the people that I want?
Right.
I want the people who want me, right? But who, and so there was so much inner work that happened that when I realized who I was and I could be authentic, oh my God. It was just like, the clouds parted and the angels started singing, and it was like, oh, here I am. Okay.
I can see clearly now.
Yeah. Get your guitar.
There we go.
I can see all obstacles in my way. Yeah. I mean, we could do a duet, but for real. Right. And so when that happens, it was like a real, oh, yes. And so then I knew.
Yeah.
Then I knew who I was. The people, not that I knew the people, I let the people see the real me.
Right.
And then they either came to me or they didn't.
Yeah.
And
it is the greatest sorter you can ever create.
Oh my God.
Showing up as you. And I will tell you something, Iris, it is incredibly common. The most common thing I find is not people who are like, I'm not being myself. How do I do that? They're the ones who think they are showing up. I'm an open book. I'm fully authentic. What you see is what you get. I'm like, oh, but
and I'm telling you like it is, right? Yes.
Right.
I'm going to tell you like it is because I'm real. And
they're trying, and bless their little hearts. I just love them big, but they have been told, how to bend those corners of their unique personalities. They've been told how to play smaller and how to play safe. Let's not be controversial. We don't want to offend anybody. Oh my God, don't anybody cringe if we say something that might offend them, but it's who we really are and something we're passionate about. And it's like, this is my value this is my beach. This is the one that I will die for. And I'm pretending like it doesn't exist because it might ruffle your feathers. And it's not even fully conscious that we do that. Most people are playing at about 20 to 30% of everything that they are. And when you can unload those floodgates, oh my God, like I just got chills. Everything is more joyful.
Yeah.
Everything is faster and more fun and more profitable. And it's incredible, the difference. It's incredible.
when you accept yourself, and I think that was the biggest thing for me, right? It was because I spent my whole life with people telling me, you know, yeah, I was homeless at 19, right? You know, you're never going to amount to anything. You're this, you're that, you're that, you know, all of these things that were thrown at me that, you know, I absorbed, you know, you absorb this shit. This stuff stays with you.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was like literally not just doing the inner work, but accepting all the parts of me,
Right.
the good,
That's the one. Yep.
bad, the ugly. I mean, I'm cute, but you know, the ugly.
Right.
But seriously,
You're
right?
adorable.
Like you too. But just like all of it, like really being able to look at all of it, you know, the imperfections, the flaws, and be like, I accept you, and I love you, and you know, you're a pain in the ass sometimes. It is what it is, but it's part of the package, and it was so freeing, and it was only 3 years ago.
Wow.
I was going to be 65, so I was 62 years old.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it was me talking to this guy working through stuff. And I think one of the biggest things was, what was your first moment of trauma and how did you react? And a trauma happened, and my reaction as a 7-year-old was to run away. And that's what I was doing. And it made everything make sense. It was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
I see the pattern. I see what I'm doing. Often that's what it is. And I don't mean to get, I am absolutely not a psychologist. I do not even play one on television.
No.
But there's almost always some kind of childhood, youthful thing that happened.
It's always childhood. Always.
You know, whether it's even if it's not super traumatic. I am one of 8 children. So it's a small Utah family. And I'm the third oldest. And
small Utah family?
Small Utah. Yeah. So I have lots of words, and I like to talk, and I like to tell stories and all those things. But there's only so much a parent can hear from 8 different kids in a day. Like there's only so much time, right? But I remember coming in and trying to tell my dad a story. He's like, honey, 30 seconds. You got 30 seconds. What do you need? And part of me took that as a challenge. I'm like, okay, I can do this in 30 seconds. You're getting all of it. I will not edit. I became a state championship debater because I could speak very quickly. So it completely ruined that. But what I learned from it was, you only have this much time for people to care what you say. You only have, and I love my dad. I'm a dad. I loved my father. But what I learned was, you have a limited time where people will listen to you. So zip it. You are too loud. You talk too much. It's time for somebody else to talk now. You know what I mean? That's the learned behavior that impacts so many of us of, oh, you're right. And it's part of why sometimes if we get to the sales portion of a call, we speed up. We don't like to leave silence. We try to answer their questions before they even ask them. I mean, all those things that sabotage your success. You can trace back to, oh, yeah, that was a rough year when I was 5. That kind of a thing. Yeah. It's very common.
And it's funny that you say that because do you know Alison O'Brien?
I don't think I do.
Okay, she was a dame. She's not anymore. She works for this company called Echo Listening, and so she did a listening assessment on me because I wanted. You know, I was like, how do I listen? Because if you look at all of my reviews, they are all about how we succeed because we listen. Iris and her team really listened to, and they didn't just get to know my brand, they got to know me, right? It's all about. So I was curious because it was like, okay, what is this? What does that mean? Like, how do I? So I take this assessment, and my wife took one too, and that's another story. That's actually a funny story that I'll tell you off of here. But so I take the assessment, and I am a strategic listener, meaning that a lot of people listen to speak.
Right.
And that's a sabotage right there, because people can tell. You're like, okay, finish so I can say what I want to say. No. You have to listen. But for me, I listen here. So we're talking and I'm listening here. Back of my brain is strategizing already. I don't even know that I'm doing it. I have no idea that I'm doing it, right? So I'm listening to you and I'm like taking everything and I'm writing notes and I'm, doing, taking all the information in. And by the time we're done talking, I know exactly what you need.
Wow.
I don't know. Thank you. It's a download, whatever the hell it is. And they're shocked. And sometimes I'm shocked. I'm like, where the hell did that come from?
Well,
like,
you're probably the first person who has listened to them in that way. Like you said, it's not that, okay, when's my turn? You said I need to hurry and respond to that. I need to respond to that. You're probably one of the first people who's ever just gone, tell me more.
Yeah. And like,
tell me about
I had one, which was like hilarious. This was like right before I took the assessment. I'm talking to the client and I'm, and I lean in, when I'm listening, I'm really listening, listening. And they stopped talking and they were silent. And they were like, well, this is awkward. And I said, are you done? And they were like, what do you mean? I said, like, is there anything more that you need to tell me? And they were like, oh, I just want to work with you. And I went, huh? And they were like, you didn't fill the space up with noise, and I can tell that you care.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, thank you.
That's my natural way of being. So thank you for noticing.
But right. But then on the reverse, I also had somebody who was like that was like, I really wanted to work with you. And I was like, yeah, I don't think we're a good fit.
Yeah. I heard all the things you didn't say.
Or I heard some things that you did say, and it was like, yeah. And I think the beauty of it, again, I just think that the beauty of it is that, we get to pick and choose. So, I told you I was going to ask you this. In light of all of this, what advice would you have for somebody who is thinking about becoming an entrepreneur?
Besides, you don't need a website. Like, that's not the first thing you need.
Right. Well, they do need a website, Amber.
Eventually,
hello.
They do. They need a website, but not in the first 2 weeks.
No, not in the first 2 weeks. No.
Change who they are. That's what I'm saying. The website comes later. I think, no, you have to have a website.
I'm giving you shit. Go ahead.
No, you have to. But it's just not the first thing. It's just not the first thing. I would say, let's see here. There's so many things that come out. I would say lean into doing it your way. Look at other people that are successful, that have your definition of success. If that's money, if that's time, if that's impact and influence, whatever that is. Look to them and see how they are delivering the experience for their people. And do not copy. Oh my God, do not copy. But take those lessons and do it your version of that. Do it your way. Trying to be a duplicate of somebody else is going to lead to misery and exhaustion. And if you're not sure what your way is, that's okay too. Don't let that stop you from trying something. You're going to change very similar to your website, similar to your logo. I had a client once, she's like, I bought this logo, it's $20,000, and this is 15 years ago. I spent $28,000 on my logo. I'm like, I'm sorry, you and I didn't talk before that, because you're going to change your logo 5 times in the first 2 years of business, and that sucks for you.
Oh, yeah.
So lean in and try it. Don't be afraid to change it if it doesn't fit you anymore. So just do it your way. That would be the biggest piece of advice.
Okay. I really like that. And something that Oscar Wilde said, that people only say the very beginning, and that's imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. But what they leave out is that mediocrity can pay greatness. And so it's like, be you, right? Be yourself, be your own hero.
It's another Oscar Wilde quote. Be yourself. Everybody else is already taken.
Everyone else is already taken. So, and I, what I love about that is, you said that you're going to change your logo, 5 times. You're going to find out who you are, and you're going to grow and evolve. And I just did a video on this. Like, if you go to my website, it's not what it was 6 months ago, right? But if you go to my website and you see the hero image on the homepage, and then you go to, I think it's like marketing services and then website, and you scroll down, you see the old homepage.
Oh, wow.
And that's my evolution. And I looked at it, and when I changed, or when I realized I changed, and I knew that it was time for, that evolution, it was like, that's who I was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
This is who I am. I can't wait to see who I am in a year and a half, right?
I love that.
And it's all about evolving. And it's, I think that we should always be learning. The day that we stop learning, to me, is the day that we die, because I think that we just always learn, because we need to. How do we
sure
grow?
Hope so. I hope so. Yes.
And I also think that as we evolve and we recognize that evolution in ourselves, everything changes. It's like, for me, this year was crazy. So, I evolved. My target market changed. It used to be startups and whatever, and now it's like, 500K to 5 million.
Right.
Congrats. And thank you. But I know, like my mom used to say, shoot for the moon and you'll hit the roof. So if it's 250K, I don't care. As long as people can afford to pay me, that's basically, where I'm at right now. Because people were sending me people that couldn't afford to pay me. That I would say it's $4,000 or $4,500 for a website, and they would freak out.
Oh my gosh.
They would be like, oh my God, I can't afford that. And then I'm like, why did this person send me them? And then I realized I didn't tell them I've evolved. So I evolved, and then things started happening. So, different, like the right clients have come in. Like, I've signed 3 people in the last, I think, week and a half, and they're all the right people. I won this award, which is crazy.
I saw that. That's amazing. Way to go, you.
I mean, thank you. Right. But it's like, and I'm not saying that I won the award because I've evolved. I don't do the things that I do to be recognized and to win things. Right. That was just like but it's, to me, it's like all part of that evolution. It's part of the growth piece and the, all of it. And the recognition part of it, that was like a little, when I saw it, when I got the email, and I know you guys have heard this story already, but Amber hasn't. When I got the email, I read it wrong. I thought it said, congratulations to the winners of, Salute to Women. So I'm reading it and I'm like, oh, that's really awesome. They chose the winners, not thinking anything, because I didn't get anything saying that I was nominated. So I have no idea. So I'm like reading, and it said, the date. And then it started talking about this like reception that was going to happen. And then it started saying, LFI, which was one of our local TV stations, is going to reach out to you for an interview. And I'm going, why are they telling me this? So I scroll down and I look at the winners, and like my name was first. And I was like, holy shit. So I went back, and it said, congratulations, Salute 2025 winner.
Oh my gosh.
So it wasn't even in my radar, right? So how your brain like does things. So then I was like, I should probably, read the email. And I did. And it was so surreal, because the women that have won this award, and I've gone to the award, like my friends have won the awards that have done amazing things. And I just remember, reading it going, oh, and it said, hopefully you were informed that you were nominated. And I was like, no.
Missed that one, in fact.
That one went by me. But it was just like this crazy feeling of accomplishment. But then it was like, but I'm not doing these things to be recognized. So it was like a weird, not imposter syndrome, but I don't know what it was. It was like one of those, do you really deserve this thing kind of,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about it and I was like, they told me that, I beat a lot of people out. It wasn't anybody that I knew. It wasn't like, oh, we should give it to Iris this year. It was like people that did not know me read this person who nominated me's, thing. And they were like, oh my God, yeah, we like, and it was like, okay, I need to receive this. Like, I need to really like receive that, I earned this and I do deserve it. And I, let all of the other stuff go. And it was hard. It was so hard. I'm okay now, but in the beginning, it was just like, I went through all of these emotions and it was like, whoa, like where the hell did that come from?
Yeah. Even if you didn't have imposter syndrome, now you do.
Right?
I think to your point, I think when we talk about being willing to be seen, and increase our visibility, we always say that, let's go be seen more. And we talk about being afraid of that. And that's part of why we hide. That's part of why we hide so much of who we are. We always talk about the negative. What if they judge me? Oh, honey, no. What do you mean, what if? Of course they will judge you. That's the cool part. But we talk about being judged and found wanting. We don't talk about the, oh my God, somebody saw me do this amazing thing. I didn't do it to be seen. I didn't do it for the accolades. I did it because it was important to me, or I was helping, or all these other things. Right. That's hard too. That's tricksy. I was raised of, you shouldn't want to be in the spotlight, was actually the phrases. You shouldn't want that. So, and it's bragging, it's whatever that is. We're not taught to own that space. So that's the other part of that. Really step up, receive it all, share it all, receive it all, and love it.
Yeah.
So,
and as soon as my name,
congratulations.
They're highlighting different people. And as soon as mine comes up, I'm blasting that everywhere because I'm out of it, right? And
good.
I like being in the spotlight. I'm a freaking lead singer, right? I mean, we know this. I'm a musician.
Yes.
I'm not shy from from the spotlight, but this was like this personal accomplishment that I just never. It was weird the way that I received it, and it took me a minute to be like, no, Dopey, this is this is a good thing. Congratulations.
Yeah. Own it.
Yes, own it and receive it. And so, I have, but it was just like so, just so kind of crazy. But I think that's part of the trauma response, right? That we were talking about.
Yeah.
That, I could do public speaking and I can get on stage and I could whatever, sing in front of however many people and do the thing and blah, blah, blah. And, help people with their marketing and be an amazing person. And oh my God, give me an award for it. And holy fuck.
Right.
Right. So,
but now just kidding. I think it's funny that
it was like,
so much in the human spirit is about wanting to be seen. It's somebody, I remember sitting in this audience of, I don't know, 500, 800 people at some conference. And the host on stage was calling out different people's names and saying, hey, we noticed this about you, or we saw this, blah, blah, blah. And I remember sitting there being so terrified that she would call my name and that she wouldn't call my name. Like, I so badly wanted to be recognized. And sitting there going, okay, but don't say it, don't, okay, but please, like, let me be one of those people that gets noticed. I was not. I wasn't. And it was relieving and soul crushing at the same time. I think it's such an interesting dichotomy but I think that's part of the human experience is I want to be seen. I want to be understood. I don't need the spotlight to be understood, but that's what we're craving. You talked about your clients that were like, oh my God, you listen, I want to work with you. they felt understood by you.
Yes.
It's a
felt
huge
seen.
experience. It is not
Yep.
common enough.
Time out of your day. We're like over an hour already, which is like crazy. And I think this is like the most I've spoken on like this podcast like ever. I think usually it's like everybody else talking. It's just it's kind of cool. So what, you talked about what you do. What is your differentiator?
I think one of my biggest differentiators is that it really isn't about the individual. Like it has to start with you. That's where the brand begins. But there's so much after that. There's so much, it's beyond logo font colors. It's beyond your vision and your mission. Becoming legend and claiming that path for yourself. It's your path. There are definitely specific elements that make it work, that create that success, create that momentum. But you get to decide when and where, and if you're going to pause, if you're going to sprint forward. And becoming legend is about, in part, that community, because legends are not made on their own. That's not how it works.
No.
So it's about leaning in and creating that community to go actually do the thing, to go change the world that you are meant to do. That thing that, I talked at the beginning, this is my sole purpose. This is branding, and working with people has always been a part of who I am. But when I realized that it was this bigger, okay, it takes a community. There's more people in it. I cannot create this on my own, not logistically, mathematically, whatever. Lean in, and we shouldn't have to. It's more fun with other people. So I think that's really the big thing, is your brand gets to be so big. Even though it starts here, it gets to just grow and become greater than even you could have dreamt about it. It's really, watching that process is so fabulous. It's just so exciting. Yeah.
Nice. I love that. And you're working with a mutual friend. So that's
yes,
cool too.
Sort of. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. We'll talk about that in a minute. So again, thank you for taking time out of your day to hang out.
It's been my pleasure, my thrill.
With me and my audience. And where can people find you?
The best place is probably right now on a platform called School, SKOOL.
Oh,
and I'll make sure y'all have the link. I've created a community in there called Call to Legend Branding. It is free. Come soak it up, rub elbows with incredible people, figure out what's working for you, what's not, ask me questions, all the things. It's a really great community.
Oh, I love that. Okay, cool. That'll be in the show notes.
Yes.
You sent us all the stuff.
I did. Yep.
And that will be in the show notes.
Yep.
Oh, and the last thing I want to ask you, because I almost forgot again, what is wrong with me this week? What lights your fire?
The work that I do, and being able to have a conversation with my 13-year-old daughter about it.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Knowing that the restrictions I had, the restrictions my mother had, stops here. It doesn't go any further than here. Being able to actually live out, and she is my muse, she is my inspiration, and being able to create a world that I'm like, damn girl, you are welcome. I am doing you proud. That lights me up.
Oh, thank you. No, you're that is one of the most beautiful. Thank you. That was one of the most beautiful answers to that question, and the most heartfelt.
Thank you for asking.
Thank you for responding that way in your truth, right? So, hang on, I'm going to say goodbye, and then I'll be right back to you. Everybody, that one got me. Thank you so much for hanging out an hour plus and listening to me blab for a really long time today. I usually don't. But thank you guys, not you guys, thank you everybody for hanging in and listening. And again, share, subscribe. There's the button up there to like and share and subscribe. And please leave reviews. And then also leave a nugget. I've been asking this every episode. what's something from this episode that stuck out for you that you're going to take away and do something great with? Let me know. But for now, I'm going to sign off until next time. Till next time we meet, go out and find what lights your fire. See ya.